Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back. And today we're about to talk about Mad Max, and specifically Mad Max Furiosa that just came out. And if you're unfamiliar with the Mad Max franchise, I mean, this is an incredible franchise. It started back in 1979. Actually, the first two movies came out before I was born, but I started watching these movies in the 90s, fell in love with them because they were outstanding stories told by George Miller. And if you know anything about George Miller, he has incredible writing. I always compare him to Frank Miller at the same time. I mean, it's just outstanding writing. I mean, the visuals that he has in his writing, in his pictures, in his books, it's outstanding. And then translating all of this into movies, and you get the Mad Max franchise. First original one came out in 1979, starring Mel Gibson. An outstanding movie, followed up in 1981 by Mad Max, The Road Warrior, again featuring Mel Gibson. And soon enough came the third movie in the installment, Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome, again starring Mel Gibson and none other than Tina Turner. She came into this movie and absolutely killed it. Now, I knew Tina Turner's music growing up. I didn't know her acting prowess, right? I hadn't seen her, right? I'm pretty sure there are people who had seen her in a lot of stuff. Maybe she cameoed and stuff. I hadn't seen. I was young. But when I saw her in Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome, she was outstanding. She really was. And her and Mel Gibson, outstanding performances. I mean, those movies were outstanding. And it took a really, really long time for Mad Max to actually go back to the theater. And then came along Mad Max Fury Road that starred Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. And this was a good movie. Now, again, the first three movies were outstanding movies. I mean, absolutely loved by not only the fans, by the critics. Not only by the fans, but also the critics. And then came Mad Max Fury Road. And it was a genuinely good movie. It really was. It was actually received very well with the fan base and the critics as well. But for some reason, it just did not garner those three previous movies. There's just something about them. Even the fans of this particular franchise will tell you. There's just this feeling, this emotion that invokes whenever we talk about these movies. But not particularly Fury Road. So again, it wasn't a bad movie, but they started doing something, and we started noticing that the studio is doing something that we've noticed recently, and that is going away from what is canon, from what is known, from what is there, right? The studio basically taking certain dare I say, certain opportunities to add a little bit of, I don't know, shall we say, agenda, or, starting to go in the direction that we've actually seen in the last previous years that studios like Marvel's been trying to do. And again, I want to be very careful when I say this, because choosing Charlize Theron to be the main character, right, in this particular movie, there's nothing wrong with that. She is an outstanding Academy Award winner, right? So she's done outstanding movies. And so she has range. That she can pretty much bring it in whatever role she is given. But the movie is called Mad Max, right? And for some reason, they've really gone away from Max. And again, I want to be very clear here. This is not Charlize Theron's fault. Is not Tom Hardy's fault. It's not. No, they were given a script. They brought in a good movie, but for some reason, you saw the fan base just didn't particularly love where the studio was taking their franchise, right? So, lo and behold, the movie didn't really perform the way they wanted it to perform. Then comes Mad Max Furiosa. And then they get to bring in heavy hitter. Well, it's hard to go away from Chris Hemsworth. This is Thor, right? You bring in Thor and to be the main protagonist in this movie, and he is outstanding. If you haven't watched this movie, you need to go watch this movie. When I tell you that the best thing about Mad Max Furiosa is Chris Hemsworth, it absolutely is Chris Hemsworth. So he absolutely brought it. I mean, Chris Hemsworth brought his absolute best in this movie. And I remember watching interviews about him talking about how he absolutely loved this process of filming this movie. And then obviously bringing in Anna Taylor-Joy, who, I've seen her in Mutants, it was a show and she was pretty good. But I hadn't really seen a lot of her in movies. But she also did well. And again, she was a main character in this movie alongside Chris Hemsworth. Now, this movie, like Fury Road, was a good movie, but I remember they were actually projecting that in its first week it would do 85 million. They were tracking it. They actually had all these numbers that they were putting out there in the ether that this movie was going to do in its first week. And lo and behold, no, it didn't. And it's really underperforming. And the fans are talking about how they don't really trust studios right now. Because again, the franchise is called Mad Max, and we've somehow gone away from Max. Now, again, this is not it's not a jab at Anna Taylor-Joy because her performance was outstanding. It's just the fact that loyal fans are loyal to the content, right? And when you deviate from the source material, like I've said before, because you're trying to pander to a certain agenda, you're trying to feed us something. And again, it has nothing to do with what they bring. And as far as a female lead, there's no problem in having a female lead. The problem comes when you're absolutely going away and deviating from what we know as source material. Now, it's one thing to tell a completely different story, right? This is a different universe. This is a different story. We've adapted some parts of it, but then don't call it Mad Max, right? This movie would have been okay if they called it Furiosa. The fact that you attach it to the Mad Max franchise and then consequently go away from what we know from the Mad Max franchise, then you cannot fault the fan base from absolutely ripping this movie to shreds. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And again, they brought in heavy hitters. Chris Hemsworth. I mean, this is Thor. This is the Marvel Universe. I mean, this dude is box office. But even with the fact that this man is box office and produced an outstanding performance, the fan base is a fan base. They know what they know. They like what they like. Young kids right now who know Thor will see this movie, and I can almost guarantee you that the people going to see it are probably going to see it because it is Thor. And if they're younger, if they're 30 years or let's say 25 and younger, they're Thor fans. They're Chris Hemsworth fans, where they're giving him the benefit of the doubt. They have no idea what Mad Max franchise is. But the fan base that is 30, 35 years, 40 years or older that actually saw these previous movies, these loyal fan base, they probably went, saw it the first time, came out, talked about it, and here we are today. A movie that to me should be doing well because it's a really good movie. Again, the content of the movie was well directed, the visuals are outstanding. I mean, it looks like Mad Max. Like when you start from 1979 to today, every Mad Max movie looks like Mad Max. The problem comes in when the story deviates, and that's essentially what happened. So for me, all I can say is fans are not trusting the studio. It comes back to that. The studios are choosing to go away from what is known, and you are losing money. I don't even know what the budget for this movie was. Probably should have checked. But it's difficult for stars like Chris Hemsworth to have movies that absolutely bomb on their resume, when they've had hit after hit, it's not a good thing. It doesn't really leave a good taste in their mouth. And probably for them, if there's another Mad Max movie, they probably wouldn't want to do it, because now they can see what happened. They gave everything to this movie. And here you are, where your movie is not doing well. A good movie is not doing well. Because let me tell you, the, all the critics, most fans, love this movie. I mean, you can see the ratings right here. You can see the ratings for Fury Road right here. So, but good movies that loyal fans love, that go back to, people want to see it over. They come out, and right now with social media, everything would be online. Everything would be on Twitter. Oh my God, you need to go see it. You need to go see it. You need to go see it. But that's not what's happening here. Loyal fans just are sick and tired of seeing their good movies, their franchises, watered down and become almost like an agenda. And I have no idea why the studios keep doing this. It's like you don't learn from losing money. You keep losing money and you don't learn. Anyway, I will recommend you go see it. Now, if you're a fan of the Mad Max franchise, you will love everything about this movie. Everything you see will look like Mad Max. But you will notice the fact that it is, especially if you love the first three original movies, you'll notice that coming from Fury Road, then we're deviating. We're going somewhere else with this franchise, and I don't know if you're gonna like it. But in my 2 cents, you're not gonna waste your money. You're gonna love it. If you haven't watched this franchise, you don't know what Mad Max is, go watch it. You'll probably love this movie. But yeah, it gets a 2 out of 10 or 2 out of 5 for me. Sorry, it's a good movie, but not a good movie. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. See you later, guys. Peace.